it feels great, but there's a sense that it's like when you don't feel like laughing, so you give an acting laugh, and then after a few fake chuckles, you're genuinely laughing. I feel like I'm missing something, so I can get really high on demand just by thinking or feeling into it, but it's as if I'm forcing it.
The subject of fake it till I make it. The reason that sometimes people find some effectiveness in that, let's go back to the two ways of looking at a life experience. One is under the influence of source, and the other is not under the influence of source. And so when you're under the influence of source, it all comes easily. There's no faking then. When you're not doing that thing that you usually do, which holds the cork under the water, the cork bobs to the surface. And when the cork is bobbed to the surface, that's tuned in, tapped in, turned on. That's under the influence of source, and there's no faking going on. There's just pure positive energy. And if you can maintain that for a while, meaning not introducing a resistant thought, then that momentum will get stronger and stronger and stronger, and the elation will become more and more defined and higher and better feeling. There are plenty of people who don't allow that to happen very often. And so they are measuring their degrees of happiness by the results that they get from their action or from their words. And that's where the faking it till you make it crowd is. That's where the setting goal crowd is. That's where the efforting crowd is. That's where the trying too hard crowd is. And in a world that is humans who are measuring their progress or success against other humans, most of them are only considering that group. The people that are trying the hardest are the ones that are getting the most success. And we don't disagree with that because they try harder and they give more attention to it. But there is a much better way of going about it. And the way of going about it is by realizing that the steps are step 1, 2, 3. Step 1 is you ask. Step 2 is there becomes a vibrational reality that source tends to. And 3 is you get yourself in the receptive mode of that vibrational reality. So many people try so hard that then they get depleted and tired and discouraged. And then they come to conclusions that are flawed. They come to conclusions that they must not be worthy because they're sure giving it everything they've got. And why aren't they finding more success? And we like to give them the simple, easy answer, trying too hard, faking it till you make it, taking score too soon. Those kinds of things slow you down more than speed you up. And so the confusion happens around this subject. You say to us, Abraham, we think you're schizophrenic because sometimes you tell us to be deliberate about what we want, to be clear about what we want, to write it down or script it, or to be very deliberate in our intentions. And then you tell us to just let go, to release thought, to just allow our cork to flow, to get tuned in, tapped in, turned on. And we want to say to you that you got to know where you are to know whether you want to put your foot on the gas. If you've got control of your vehicle and you want to go really fast, then do. But if you're on tight curves on mountain passes, you might want to slow it down just a little bit. And so it's a matter of recognizing where you are in relationship to the energy that you're flowing. If you've found a way to find some blissful thought, and you just let that thought flow, and you don't contradict it with a doubt or a worry, that thought will pick up speed. And the power of that thought will manifest in your experience in a really obvious way. So what your wonderful questions are about, how do I know? How do I know when to focus and therefore increase the momentum, and when to defocus and therefore allow the momentum to increase on its own? We want to just state it in these simple terms. If you're trying too hard, you can feel the strain of it, so cut it out. Let it go. Just say, I've gone far enough with this. But if the thought is blissful, then play it out as far as it can go. It really is you getting sensitive to how you feel in the process. When you feel strain, you're not helping yourself. When you feel ease, you are. It really is that simple. The most important thing in this conversation is that Once you've tapped into this energy that's creating worlds, and you all do it often, and wonderful things begin flowing, you have a tendency, lovely humans, who are here to manifest, it's part of why you're here. You want to see thoughts turning to things. You want to stop and take score, and that's the moment that you begin introducing resistance into the equation. Everything, every empire, every magnificent relationship, every extraordinary thing that anyone has ever created in this physical environment has been almost all accomplished. 99.9999, almost all accomplished in the vibrational state before you get the first brick in place or hire the first employee. You are getting most of it done through the leverage of energy flowing. And then the action is meant to be the way you enjoy what you've set into motion. Humans have it backward. They want to use their action to make it happen. And because they're demanding more leverage out of the action than the action has the power to give them, then they get tired and depleted. And then they judge themselves not worthy as they look at others who seem to be trying far less, who are getting way more. Is this making sense to you? You want to use the leverage of the energy that creates worlds, but before you do that, you got to tap into it. So sometimes people say, well, Abraham, it seems like you teach selfishness, and we say we do. If you are not selfish enough to care about how you feel, and you're not selfish enough to master the way you feel, so that you consistently tap into this energy, then you have nothing to give anyone anyway. But if you're selfish enough to guide your thoughts in a way that you allow the universe to rain down upon you the things that you're asking for, then from that place of stability, you have plenty to give others. You can't get sick enough to help sick people get well, or poor enough to help poor people become prosperous, or confused enough to help people who are confused become clear-minded. You have to be in the energy of that clarity and that well-being and that power before you have anything to give anyone, which means you got to learn to focus yourself there, which means you got to pay attention to the way you feel, which means you got to go in the direction of your inner being who always feels good. So if someone were really wanting something and their mindset is, it isn't happening, would we encourage them to just try harder? No. We'd encourage them to take a nap or meditate or do something, because the struggle just gets bigger. Whatever your current situation is, while you focus it, it gets bigger. Within 16 or 17, we used to say 17, now it's moving towards 16. Within 16, 17 seconds, a thought like it joins it. So if you hold a thought for as little as 16 seconds, another thought like it joins it, and momentum is underway, which makes it more likely that another thought like it will join it, and another and another. And once it gets a little over a minute, you've got enough momentum going that you're probably not going to be able to stop it. You're probably going to have to let it play out before you get another reprieve and you set your thoughts in the direction of your own determination.
And this concept is part of how I learned how to activate bliss. And I can be blissful throughout my day.
We're asking because we don't doubt that you've figured it out. We don't doubt that you've accomplished it and that you can accomplish it at will. We just have a couple of questions about it. And the most significant question is, can you feel that there's not struggle while you're doing it? There's not trying. There's an expectation of finding it. Can you apply to your technique or your experience the concept that we're offering here with such deliberate intensity, the getting out ahead of it quality of it? Describe what you're doing.
I need to get out of my own way and just focus on the love and bliss.
So sometimes are you so much in your own way that you can't do it?
Absolutely, yeah. And if I'm so distracted by all this that's going on.
So the first thing then is recognizing whether this is a probable moment in time to do it. And this is really the point that we're making. It's recognizing, have I gotten out far enough ahead of it that this is a likely time for me to tap into that? Because if it's not a likely time for me to tap into that, then I'm faking it till I make it, or I'm efforting too much. And in all of that, I'm just making it worse. You see what we're getting at? But if I'm aware of how I feel, and I've been caring about how I feel, and I've been taking baby steps, so to speak, about feeling good. And I found in my pile of sticks some of those surefire sticks that always feel good. So I am getting out ahead of it. You help because your expectation is that something good's going to happen here. It's why you're here. When Esther stands at the podium, it just takes seconds for her to just let go of everything, and her vibration just becomes equivalent to the vibration of us. You saw something that doesn't happen very often, in fact, maybe never, where as Esther is let go and is allowing us, she thinks of something. And when she did, she felt the sort of resistance in the energy, because her human thought is resistant to her non-physical thought. Can you sort of get what we're talking about? When Esther allows Abraham to flow purely through her, there's no resistance in that. Sometimes people will say, "Can I give you a hug?" And if it's the last conversation before a segment of refreshment, often we just give into it and allow it to happen. But usually we say, not a good idea, because it's disruptive to Esther's energy. You can see why. So this whole conversation is about understanding my readiness to put my foot on the gas, yes? And if you're not tuned in, tapped in, turned on, then don't do it.
There's practice, which creates ease and flow with it. The more I practice it, the easier it gets. It doesn't feel like I'm forcing.
So let's talk about why. Expectation changes. That's like with Esther. She would never even fathom walking over here with you all waiting and not being able to reach Abraham. That never enters her mind. Because 100% of the time, one time a dog killed a chicken and she couldn't find us. Jerry said, "Go get Abraham." Esther was too distraught. She couldn't find us. But under these conditions, she has never not been able to reach us, and so she just always does. And so what were you saying?
Through practice, it's easy, and I'm asking if...
Through practice, but this is the distinction that you're helping us to offer here. Through practice that's in alignment with the laws of the universe. There are a lot of people who practice working hard. There are a lot of people who practice sacrifice. There are a lot of people that practice struggle. And while they get results in relationship to others that are practicing the same sort of struggle, they don't get the success that they really want, which is this sublime bliss that you are describing. So you got to know what you're feeling for, don't you? You got to know that you're feeling for relief, you're feeling for ease, you're feeling for flow, and eventually you're feeling for power. But don't feel for power before you've found ease. Don't try to get the power from the universe until you've eased yourself into knowing that you are up to speed with it. Does that make sense to you? So what was your point? We know you came here to tell us something. We know you came here to demonstrate something. And we know for sure that it's exactly the thing that we're talking about here.
Would you suggest to me to continue easing into bliss and enjoying the F out of it and get out of my own way and just observe what happens through my intentional desire to be happy?
Absolutely, that is our message, and this is why. Through life as you live it, and you can't stop it, life is continuing to come to you as you are offering your vibration. So wherever you are, and it's fine. Wherever you are. So like Esther with the airline, that's where she was. She had no choice but to live it out, because that was her point of attraction, and nothing other than that was going to be her experience. She had no choice. In other words, it is what it is, and what it is being demonstrated to her in the moment. Yes? Do your best to find the best feeling thought that you can find. But beyond that, we've been talking like this for a long time. You could write the books. You are writing the books. You know about this law of attraction thing. But today we're offering you something with greater definition. And that is the power of non-resisted thought. And it's time for the likes of you to cash in your vibrational chips and start utilizing your power. And you bring to us really good words. Your power is evidenced by your bliss. Your power is evidenced by your ease, by your clarity, not by your struggle and sacrifice.